medicine fields. 65, I was 17 and running up on one. I don't know where I'm running now, I'm just running on, running on empty, running on, running wild, running into the sun, but I'm running behind. Gotta do what you can just to keep your love alive. Try not to confuse it with what you do to survive. 69, I was 21, and I called the road my own. I don't know when that road turned onto the road I'm on. Running on empty, running wild, running into the sun, but I'm running behind. Everyone I know, everywhere I go, people need some reason to believe. I don't know about anyone but me. If it takes all night, that'll be alright. If I can get you to smile before I leave. Looking out at the road rushing under my wheels. I don't know how to tell you all just how crazy this life feels. Look around for the friends that I used to turn to to pull me through. Looking into their eyes, I see them running too. Running on empty, running wild, running into the sun, but I'm running behind.
Hello, 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 Keller Williams Mountains to Sound, Keller Williams Puget Sound, and the Thrive Forward community. I'm so happy that you could be with us here today. It is June 1st, 2020, and it has been an extraordinary year so far, and especially an extraordinary past few days. And I know that there's been a lot of emotion, and there's been a lot of thoughtfulness, and a lot of leadership. And I especially am excited to bring on our leadership, Pam and Dennis. Guys, if you could go ahead and join us, that would be really fantastic. Pam and Dennis?
It won't
You guys
let
wanna
us
come
start
on?
the video.
Yeah, I can.
You have to unlock us. There we go.
There you go. So sorry about that.
All right.
Here we are.
So I know that we've had a couple conversations over the past few days, but Dennis, I know that you actually wanted me to share something. So why don't you kind of walk us through where your thought process has been this weekend?
Okay. Well, what I really wanted to do is everybody received a letter or an email from Gary Keller, and I wanted to just read that email because I think it really encapsulates everything that we're thinking. And so I'm just going to read it to you if you haven't already seen it. It says, "Dear Keller Williams family, I'd like to make one thing clear. Racism is wrong, and Keller Williams stands with the Black community and wholeheartedly supports equality. Right now, communities across America are experiencing tremendous pain. This pain builds and grows exponentially with each name. George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, Eric Garner, Sandra Bland, Michael Brown, and too many more. Each person had a story, a family, a home, and a life that mattered that was taken away from them. To our Black Keller Williams associates and clients, we are with you. You matter. Your family, friends, and community matter. Your lives matter. You are in our hearts and in our prayers. The truth is that racial injustice and inequality persists, and in order to help change that, it's critical to not only say something about it, but to do something about it. I believe that the real estate community has a unique opportunity to promote healing and reform. The first step is reflection and thoughtful self-examination. Then we listen, we learn, we speak up. That's how change happens. We know many of you are past this stage, and from you, we need your leadership. Effective immediately, we are creating a task force of our International Associate Leadership Council to come forward with recommendations for action to eliminate any racial disparity within our company, our industry, and how we can lead the way in the communities where we live and work. I will be reaching out to our regions immediately to ask for a nomination from each to join us in this critical effort. I'm proud of the company we've built together, but I know in my heart that we can do more. I believe we can also set an example within the industry by committing more of ourselves to a better and equitable future. We can all do something. Lead a conversation in your market center and commit as a family to create change. Reach out to your local real estate board and make sure that racial equality is reflected in their positions. Ask if they support initiatives and measures crucial to racial and social justice. Then get involved in those you believe in. Now is also the time to check in on each other, speak our truths, and listen with an empathetic ear. While we may not be able to come together in person, we can make a difference. Call, video chat, text, and support each other during this unbelievably challenging time. Take heart and take care of each other. While pain and hate brought us to this moment, love will help us find our way out. Onward, Gary.
Wow. Wow. You know what? I was sharing this with Pam earlier. I don't know about you, but I don't know if I've ever been more proud of Gary Keller and the leadership that he was showing there.
Absolutely.
Great.
You know, Dennis and I spent a lot of time with individuals in one-on-one conversations. People, we reached out to people, and people reached out to us. And one thing is really, really clear, that there is a lot of pain, and it has to be acknowledged. And there's fear, and you know, we have to go there, we have to run there, and we have to help each other. I don't pretend to know what it's been like or is like to be an African American and lived with the generations of trauma and pain. I have no idea. But I do know that I love you guys. And I do know that I want to learn and I want to grow. And I want to understand. And I do know that in order for healing to take place, there has to be conversations. And in order for conversations to be taking place, we have to create a safe environment. So I want your help in creating that environment inside of our local KW, MTS, and PS offices. And we want to hear from you. We want to listen to you. We want to do whatever it takes to bring about healing and lasting change once and for all. So I think about one of our Y4C2Ts, and that is the communication, seek first to understand. So I'm here, Dennis is here, Cole, Bill, Lindy, our leadership team's here to live that out, to seek first to understand. And I know that we can't be, like Gary said, we can't be together. Maybe in the near future, we'll have some ways of being more together. But right now, I know that together we can take a stand for each other. and for building the kind of space, environment, work life that we want together. So I am going to ask you all to do something, because I do believe that we are all connected and that we all are feeling this individually and as a whole. So what I wanted to do was just, I want you all to stand up right now, like physically make your stand, take your stand for moving forward, helping us and helping each other figure all this out. And I just want to take a moment and connect our hearts to each other. So I'm just going to ask you that you close your eyes, and I'm going to ask you, whoever comes into your mind and your heart, to just be with that person right now. So let's just take a moment together and do that, okay? Okay. I just wanted to thank you guys for that, for allowing me to connect with you. And moving forward, wanting to create something more wonderful than we could have ever imagined. This is our opportunity. It came in a horrible way, and it is the door that we need to walk through. So together we'll walk through it together. Okay.
Pam, thank you so much. And I want to thank you and thank Dennis for always creating a space where we can be 100% our authentic selves. Sometimes you don't get that privilege to be around leaders who really allow you to fully express who you are, no matter what that looks like. Sometimes that looks like sadness. Sometimes that looks like rage. Sometimes that looks like confidence. But however we show up, you guys always allow that space for us. And I just want to thank both you guys for that.
Thanks.
Okay, so let's move forward in a positive way today. And we're going to start off with one of my favorite people that I always love to start off with, Mr. John Hanson. John, how are you doing today, my friend?
Doing great. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. So we have some fun stuff to talk about today. So I want to share my screen here. Hang on 2 seconds. I just need to change my screen over. Whoop. Okay. Here, let me share my screen. And we're having a conversation today, John. It's kind of interesting. It is about when people share their inspection report with the seller. So walk us through what we're seeing here, John.
Well, let me see what I'm looking at. Okay, before, okay, so Dennis and I last summer attended together a legal symposium. And in that legal symposium, it was introduced by Justin Haig, who's the attorney for Northwest MLS, that there was going to be a change on Form 35, and that the change, that's the inspections addendum, the change was going to make it not allowed to send the inspection report anymore, along with the Form 35R, or for any reason, communicate it to the seller. The reason being that the seller, once they know of something from let's say a fact witness, which we could call on this factor, I guess, if they say there's something that is amiss or something that needs to be repaired or whatever, it's almost better the seller doesn't know about it, because if they know about it, now they have to disclose it to all future buyers, whether they go through with the deal with this buyer or not. And so a lot of agents for buyers and buyers agents were using this as a manipulation technique to get their work wishes done by telling the listing agent that whether you fix it for us or not, you're still going to have to fix it sooner or later for somebody because you now have knowledge about it. Okay, so that becomes a little bit of a problem in that sometimes some agents, even though this was enacted almost a year ago, or the change in the form was, and is communicated ad nauseum to everybody, but somehow some people are still unaware of it. So I just want to make sure everyone knows that that exists on page 1 toward the bottom of page 1 of Form 35. That exists where it says that the attention buyer, you may not send your inspection report to the seller. Okay, so we've had some incidents where we've had both our agents sending the report or portions of the report, because according to this, you can't send any portion of that inspection report, including the cover of the inspection. You can't send anything that has to do with that inspection. It gives a very specific thing you can send only when you are going to ask for an additional inspection as one of your 4 alternatives as the buyer. You can ask, you can include just that little portion you would want to cut and paste so that nobody can see anything else other than the little portion of recommendation from the inspector recommending that additional inspection. That's it. Nothing else can be sent over. If you do, it's a breach of contract. So when this was introduced, Dennis probably remembers this, that I was feeling really antsy about that because I thought there's no penalty, there's no anything added onto this. So we have a Form 35 now saying that if you send that inspection report over, that or any portion of it, that is going to be a breach, right? It's going to be a breach of the contract because the contract says you can't send it, but there's no penalty. So what was bothering me was that there was no penalty attached to this, and I didn't understand why. I thought, well, it's probably going to come, right? Never has come. So there's no penalty attached, and that's dangerous to both the buyer and the seller. And the reason that I believe that's dangerous to both buyer and seller is because what has to happen now is that if that happens and it causes damages to the seller, there's no limit to the amount of money that, well, there's a limit, I guess, and that would be the price of the equity in the house. So if it damages the seller to that extent, well, the seller can sue the buyer for having breached that contract, causing damages. So it's kind of a bad situation to be in. And so not too long ago, maybe a month or so ago, month or 2 ago, one of our salespeople received I think it was a counter offer that looked like this, that had what you're seeing in front of you. This is just on a Form 34, a blank one, that says that first of all, when I saw this, let me just say that I looked at it and I thought, I don't think that's enforceable. I don't think that's contractually enforceable to add that in. So I ran it by the legal hotline by Annie Fitzsimmons. And Annie said, yes, that can be added to the contract. You know, the parties can add that in and it is enforceable. So with that, my thought has been to want to put together with the counsel of our own attorney something very similar to what you're seeing on here, which is that this is an agreement between the buyer and the seller, and they would check which one of these is going to apply as a penalty if the buyer sends over the inspection report or any portion of the inspection report. So the buyer's contingency is deemed waived as the first one, or the buyer's earnest money shall convert to a non-refundable deposit now for the seller, or that the agreement shall automatically terminate and the earnest money forfeited to the seller as an automatic consequence. Now, that's the one, that last one's one that struck me as a little harsh, and I thought to myself, I don't know that that's enforceable, but Annie Fitzsimmons says it's completely enforceable. And so this is something that, unless I hear from you that you don't want to see this, that I do plan on. I just wanted to give you this heads up so that you can give me feedback if you don't want it. But I would like to have something like this available to all of you when you're representing your seller, to have this as a remedy for in advance. So this has to be done in advance, prior or with mutuality, to have that, those options available for the seller, and to have identified in advance which one of those remedies is going to be utilized for the transaction. So Ramona loves it already, I see. So I would like to, hear from everybody if there is anything that you see that would be a problem with having something like this, which would probably very similar to that. Dennis?
Yeah. Isn't part of the problem too is that because the Form 35 or 35, whichever one says that, it becomes the contract is you've breached the contract. Other agents are listing agents are using that as, hey, you've breached the contract, we're going to keep your earnest money. Then it becomes a big fight over the earnest money, right? Because nobody's really taken this thing to court that we know of and made it, because you breached it, now you've lost your earnest money.
Right.
That's not been proven yet. So that's part of the problem.
Right.
I think the MLS didn't help us much with this change in the form, and I wish they would continue to evolve that and make it correct so that everybody understands exactly what's happening. Because right now, listing agents are trying to push the buyers around if they accidentally sent, or the agent didn't know and they sent the inspection agreement or inspection report back to the seller and the agent. It becomes a big mess, and then you end up having to try to help negotiate with the other broker and everybody. So that's part of the problem.
Right. Thank you, Dennis. And you remember that I kind of freaked out when I was like, what's the remedy here? What's, why they wouldn't have attached that? And so now we're having people conjecture what that remedy should be. Well, it should be a forfeit of the earnest money, or should be, and really, unless you have the parties in advance agree to a remedy, a court's never going to enforce that remedy. So that's why my thought is let's get our own that we can put into our own 34 or whatever we want to put it into as a counter offer. Or even put it into our listing document that, your offer is going to need to have this with it, right? So that we have that agreed upon between the buyer and the seller.
So we have a few questions, John. I'm going to start off with Tracy Sand. She says, is this something we'd use and attach to our listings?
Yeah, I would put that into the listing documents. Yes.
Yep, could be a supplement.
Right. Now, just to be really, really clear, you were saying language like this, and I took it down for just a second just to make sure. Are you saying that we're going to kind of rewrite it and tweak that, because that language was based on something that you saw in a contract? Am I right on that, John?
Yeah, and I don't know if an attorney had prepared that wording at all or not, and we can't really have buyers and sellers signing things that an attorney hasn't approved of. And so what I want to do is send that over to our attorney, our company attorney, to look that over and give any changes to it or tweak it or whatever. But I kind of want to go with that same. I like it. So when Annie Fitzsimmons said this is fully enforceable, I was like, wow,
Okay.
giddy up on that one.
Okay. Now, here's another question that I can see it. A lot of people asking this question. Are we able to copy and send a picture if the seller asks for clarification or an image?
Well, yeah, if it's asked for, if it's requested, we can send them whatever they want.
Okay.
Now, the buyer owns that inspection, and the buyer doesn't have to, but if they want to get the seller to cooperate and the seller asks, I think it's going to behoove them to send it. But not, but that's the only circumstance that can be sent, is when when we have written permission by either the listing agent or the seller to send that, then we can send it. Otherwise not. But if they say, yeah, we want to see that, then sure.
Okay, great. And here's another one says, it is questionable if it is a material fact unless a professional of the specific item states it is a material fact. It's an interesting comment there. Let's see. Yeah, I
Well,
think that's some of the
okay,
questions
so
there.
may I define just for a second what a material fact would be?
Yeah.
It would be any issue that exists that would have that was undisclosed, that would have influenced the buyer's decision to do or not do it, the transaction, or to have changed what they were offering in price. So really, almost anything could become a material fact, and in a court, that would have to be proven, that was material to the transaction.
Right.
And I can see there being a lot of things that would be material.
Sure. Sure. Okay. Any other questions in
Yeah,
the
there's two
chat, guys?
questions there that I want to address.
Go for it.
Robin says we need to have a document that seller states in writing that they want to see the inspection. John, don't you think an email from either the agent or the seller would suffice for that, as long as it's?
I absolutely think so. Yeah, we don't need a document for that. We just need an email saying,
Yep.
send that over, please.
And then Chad says, can the listing agent not look at it and not forward to seller if buyer sends with 35R? Absolutely, they cannot. I mean, I wouldn't look at it, because then you become a witness to whatever the problem is.
Correct. And we just had that happen recently, and it caused a real problem because the seller didn't look at it, but the agent did. And the agent would now have to disclose that.
No. Okay. Well, John, thank you so much for this wonderful topic, and Dennis, thank you for chiming in on that. This is very interesting. This is good stuff.
Yes. Thank you, Cole, and Cole and Dennis and Pam. Thank you so much for your leadership on this issue that you've introduced this morning. Appreciate it.
Thanks, John. Okay, guys, so I am so excited. We have a fantastic 2 panels for you today. So this first couple, I am telling you what, these guys just did something extraordinary this past month. So Dan and Cheryl, come on in here, guys. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So you two and your team took 30 pendings in May. Am I correct?
So I'll give full disclosure so that we don't come out looking bad. But as of Friday, that was the case. And then Barrett, of course, notified us that we closed 3. So that would have been an untruth. However, over the weekend, we were able to bring that back up +1.
+1. So we're actually in, are you saying 31?
Yep. If we get,
Oh my Lord, that's awesome. Okay, so let's back up for a second. There's a lot that goes into doing that kind of an effort for your team. I would imagine that there's mindset, there's skill set, there's competitive edge. Take us through that. First of all, take us through maybe what it takes for your team to do that, maybe how you approach it, the mindset. Walk us through this process.
so when this started in the middle of March, and because we've experienced a couple of markets that have shifted rapidly, I think we let our fear take over in the minute and not the faith that we knew we had.
Yes,
So with that, we just decided, and I know that I've talked to lots of different people about the decision, whether you make a choice or you make a decision. And we decided that we were going to just do this and get our mindset in order. Now, 10 weeks later, we only lost 1 team member during this process.
Wow.
And he was very new to the business. Both his parents and his brother lost their jobs in week 1.
Mm-hmm.
So he decided to step out. But other than him, we have actually just doubled down, followed Gary's rules, and each week we tried to bring a new energy and a new mindset. Dan reads, follows a man that on a podcast every day. And so we decided to start bringing this daily discipline to our team. And every single morning at 8:45, we had a huddle and we had to share our wins. And each week we just continued this process to the point where, you know, like we look at our screen right now and we see all these names. So for us, when we saw someone's name and we didn't see their face, we wondered if they'd actually gotten up 5 minutes before this started and were ready for their day. Because let's face it, a buyer or seller could call any minute, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we literally would say, okay, if you don't show your face, we know that you weren't prepared for this meeting. You weren't ahead of everybody else. Then we took it the next week to, I want you to stand up. I want you to show me what you're wearing from your chest down. Because in truth, I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
in truth, you'd find that sometimes they have their pajama bottoms on. And one of the team members says, well, what if I'm wearing just my underwear? And I said, well, it'd be really hard to show houses in just your underwear. So we kind of just made it a game. And we just, each and every week, we try and bring something new so that it would make us feel like we were together. And we started the different disciplines. In addition to that, we read the Shift book in 3 weeks.
Wow.
We started with Tactic 11, bulletproof your transaction. And then we started back at the beginning and then read all the way back through to Tactic 11 again. And so we were just really living what we've experienced before. And then of course the gift of bold came up and almost our whole team took bold again. And we again held each other accountable. We have some pretty amazing people on our team. And there's just no other choice but to follow the rules. So especially if Gary Keller tells you, then they'd follow it. I mean, to the point where they were sending us their, you know, pictures and videos every day. And
Wow.
so, you know, and I really do want to put one tiny little shout out because we have this little award that we pass around on our team. It's called a Kick-Ass Award. Sorry about my bad language. But we had one individual on our team and she actually did 5 pieces of business in the last month. And it was her first full month as a buyer's agent.
Wow. That one, what's her name?
Alexa Gerard.
Yay, Alexa. Way to rock. That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so there is a question here. What has been your biggest source of business for the 31 deals? And what would you say was the biggest contributing factor?
Okay, so we made a bet with, because we like to play business like a game. And our whole goal this year was to put our Sphere and database ahead of Ron Jones, who builds an incredible website. And last year, I have to say, and I'm not proud to say this, but Ron's website beat our Sphere of Influence and our database.
How many people do we have in our database?
Well, and right now we have 21,500 people in our database.
Wow.
And about 10,000 of those people are Mets.
Amazing.
Yes.
Amazing.
So you'd think we could do a lot more business than we are. So that's why we're really dialing it in. So this 30 units, just to give you an idea, the 30 units, 18 of them were collectively Sphere of Influence. 11 of those 18, Dan and I were leading by example, and we were doubling it down. And we talked to people. I talked to one person, I'm embarrassed to say this, I had not talked to them in 24 years.
Wow.
Sold in the house their very first year, and they just happen to have the same phone number.
No.
Oh, that's lucky.
Yeah,
Outstanding.
and it wasn't my family. It wasn't my family. And then 12 were from the website. So we have a couple of websites.
You know, this, Cole, it was a perfect storm. We've been doing this for a while, and we've had our systems, and we've had Ron Jones set up some incredible systems, and we have incredible software, and we have probably the most dynamic buyer's agents we've ever had in our team. and we're up around 15 people when this damn COVID virus started. And we just chose to ignore the COVID virus. It doesn't exist. I mean, we have to follow our safety protocols and we follow the multiple rules. But on our team, we chose not to hear that. We were going to ignore it.
Find the motivated.
Find the motivated was our call. And Gary has said that time and time again, find the motivated. And that's what we did every single day. And Ron Jones is a force to be reckoned with. He has put together some incredible websites. He's done some things that has turned our business around, and our systems are top-notch A1. And I thought, okay, we're going to just continue sitting on these web calls all the time. We're going to pick up the phone and talk to strangers. No, I'm not interested. I mean, I thought that's where our business was going to come from, but we just chose to get back into our database and make those phone calls.
Amazing.
Every single one of our teammates are the ones that came through for us. Everybody did. And so it was like we got a different kind of virus.
And
We got the winning virus. There's
That's
nothing to
outstanding.
stop us from getting, and even myself, yesterday afternoon or yesterday morning, I was getting phone calls, and Sunday's usually a day that we just don't do much, and we were sitting out in the yard working around, and I got phone calls that I had to go see people, and I go, Cheryl, where are we at? What's our numbers? Well, we were like at 28 or 27. I had to go put together a couple deals, and I did it because I was caught up in the virus, and it was so much fun. It was absolutely kick-ass fun.
And
Wow.
Barrett, taskmaster that she is,
Huh.
she is probably the most highly compliant person I've ever known in my entire life. And she literally, it was like Friday, my heart fell when she said, well, we're back to 27. You know, I was like, oh, so she pushes us too. And so our whole team, we really did get caught up in it. And we decided not to drop things. We actually doubled up, not just on phone calls, but, you know, we've done our, for those of you who know who Brian Buffini is, our client appreciation program, we re-implemented in January, and we decided instead of letting go of any of that, we doubled up on it. And so we decided to start, we couldn't do the pop buys, of course, but we did other things. So
Well, there's
just
two.
really put the pedal to the metal.
I love it. There's two sides of what I'm hearing. First of all, as leaders of a team, how you approach that with your entire team and getting that frenzy going. Gosh, I love how you're talking about it being a virus, Dan. I think that's fantastic. So for the people who are leading teams, walk them through how they might be able to approach this now, because obviously there was I like how you said there's also a perfect storm, but how would they approach their team in getting this kind of excitement going?
Create contests. Literally, we would challenge them. There's several people on our team that are already involved in personal challenges. So we just started implementing that into the business. You know, there's a 75 hard out there, and a lot of the people on our team were doing that. And we just kind of would replace the personal things with business items, you know.
No, Cheryl wouldn't let them not be involved, and she would get in their face. I mean, he couldn't physically get in their face, but she would be on the phone with each and every one of our team members every single day. She's the one. She's the one. And if Cheryl gets in your face, you better listen, because she won't let you go.
And so it sounds like there's a lot of Velvet Hammer going on in your world, Cheryl.
Well, you know what's funny? That actually was my business partner's nickname, was the Velvet Hammer, and I was the Crusher.
I can see you in the crusher. Yeah, I got it. Okay, so then what does it take? Obviously, you made it rain yourselves. Dan, what does it take to go, you know what, I'm going to go make this happen? Obviously, skill set, mindset. What's the thing that has to come first in order for someone just to really lean in and make things like this happen?
It just, you have to make that decision in the morning when you wake up. You're going to make the decision it's going to be a great day. I mean, I hate to sound really trite, but we made the decision that this was going to be a successful month for us.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says. I read something this morning, and I'd like to repeat it if I could. I'll read it, not verbatim, but parts of these things is familiar to you. And I'll start. And it says, to get the results you want, you have to do the things that produce those outcomes. If that sounds obvious, well, let me make it blatantly obvious. If you're not doing the things that produce what you want, you either have to stop wanting or you have to start doing. Because if there are things you want and you're not doing the things required to get them, where does that leave you? We all want success. We all want to be looked at as we're competent agents, and we provide food on the table. We close sales and we have great incomes. But if you're whining to me and saying things aren't happening or I don't know what to do, well, tell me what you're doing. And if you're not doing those things, stop whining. Go out and do it. If you're still going to whine, go find another team or go play with somebody else, because I don't want to play with you.
Okay.
It's just that simple. And every morning I had a voice in my ear. Sweetheart, what are you going to be doing today? What do you? So this is my coach. She's 24 hours, 7 days a week, and I love her to death, and I'm very blessed to be married to her. And I'm grateful.
Well, you two just have such an amazing business, such amazing partnership, and I tell you what, such an amazing and inspirational team. And I tell you what, I just can't wait to see what you do in June now.
I know. Decided, you know what? Because let's face it, what is today? Today is your second half of your year. Today starts third quarter.
We're not going to stop. And both Ron and Cheryl and myself, we have aspirations not only to continue to do with what we're doing, but also to make an impact on a regional basis. I mean, numbers matter. It matters in your checkbook, your lifestyle, and what you can do for other people. And we're responsible for other people. And I want everyone to have an incredibly rich lives, whatever that means to them. And I want to help them get there, whether it's a client or whether it's a teammate or it's someone within this market center. And we'll do that because we just love everybody. We just do.
I love it.
And in truth, we have the opportunity to be very good friends with the LP and the owners of this market center. And we lean on them. You know, they're who I go to. Pam is who I go to when I need to dig deep. And so, you know, I'm very grateful for them as leaders, and we're very appreciative of their friendship.
Yeah.
And
and we're grateful that Dennis finally shaved his beard, because now he looks like a real
yeah. Looks like a professional again. I love it.
I would like to add one more thing, that because we poured into ourselves every single day and followed, I know that Mike Renard posted something from a guy that we follow. Craig Groeschel is an amazing human, an amazing minister to people, an amazing leader, amazing leadership coach. And I know that I'm going to use this line forever, because once it resonated with me so well, and so many of us can relate to it, is because I would rather be someone who's always real than always right.
Yeah.
And so we've failed our way forward, and we're having fun doing it.
Well, and you're such a beautiful, shining example of what is possible when you create a space for yourselves to really be the very best that you can be, with accountability, with supporting each other, with the team support. And I got to tell you guys, you know, the theme today is pick a lane and own it. Talk about owning something and owning it. Just congratulations for an incredible month. And this year is going to be extraordinary for you guys.
It's the team.
We just happen to be there to go along with them. But I will tell you this, if people out there really do want to know what it is we're doing, and they want me to make them as crazy as I make everyone on our team, we're happy to share whatever we're sharing with them every day with everybody else.
Oh, that's wonderful. That is so wonderful. We appreciate that. And I think a lot of people will want to take part in that. So that's fantastic. Well, guys, thank you so much for being on. We so appreciate you. get a little outplay music for you. Okay, so we have another wonderful panel for you guys. And again, talking about leaning in and owning a space. I want to invite on Lindsay Dwyer, Trevor Acey, Nicole Larson, and Guru Singh. Guys, why don't you come on in? Hello. How are you guys doing today?
Hello, hello.
Good. Hello.
Hello, hello, hello. Well, this is kind of a wonderful conglomeration, I can almost say, that panel of people who, during this whole coronavirus, since it started, you guys started really leaning in and taking charge of a particular space, filling that space and really owning it. And I want to get an opportunity to talk to each of you. And I think, Lindsay, I'm going to start with you, Geek Girl. So, you know, you have harnessed the power of social media, especially Facebook, and to really, really provide care and provide value to the people in your, not only on social media, but the friends, your clients. And what I was hoping we could do, if it's okay with you, I want to share your Facebook page. And I think it is just really, really fascinating when you take a look at it. So this is your Facebook page. And first of all, I love your, I absolutely love your logo here. But you started doing something, and I'm gonna just come down to it, because you actually have a calendar of events that you've put together. So it's your Stay Home, Stay Connected online events calendar. Tell us, first of all, walk us through just a little bit about where did all of this start, and how did you start creating this space for people?
Well, it was really inspired by the office calendar, and how everyone had started doing, like, you'd planned out everything that was going to go on. And then from there, I just wanted to make sure that I was providing something for people to do while they're stuck at home. This is a world that I was already involved with, doing things online, whether that's video games, Dungeons and Dragons, that sort of thing. So I started all the way back. I went and checked. The first week of my online calendar was March 21st. So
Wow.
It's been a couple weeks in there, like last week, that I didn't do it. I got a dog, so couldn't really do a live Q&A when I didn't know if the dog was going to bark.
Got it. I totally get it. So I was going to show people kind of what this looked like. And by the way, if you go to the Geek Girl at Keller Williams Mountain Sound, you're going to see some of the things that she's done. And it's just been really extraordinary. Just under all these videos, there's so many really great ones. And there was one in particular that I actually found really helpful, Lindsay, and I don't know if you know about that. This is the live Q&A, the mental health one. So I just thought this was really fascinating. And I'm not going to show the whole thing, but I just want to kind of show what your format was.
He's the teacher.
You had
I actually wanted to please the teacher. And so the word,
it's you, and it is an expert in any given topic, and you've kind of just created this very, very professional look for people. What has been the effect of what you've been providing?
It's really deepened some relationships, particularly with the people who I've had on, which has been really helpful when it's been 4 people in one. It's also just provided a way for people to ask questions without, really having to go to these people in the first place. For this mental health one, I saw a lot of great questions coming through. Obviously, couldn't do mental health advice because of the whole format of online, and it's very individual. It just really helped me to find this different connection to people and, meet them where they were comfortable.
Yeah. Now, would you consider yourself a techie?
Yes.
Yes. It shows, right? And here's the thing. You chose a lane, and your lane really is technology, and especially technology in this space, you wonderful millennial you. And so I just want to applaud you for leaning in so well and being a real shining example, because there's going to be people who are watching you right now and maybe consider themselves techies. What's some advice that you can give them on maybe kind of taking advantage of social media?
Um,
And
you will
forgive
make
me.
mistakes.
So
and
sorry. Hang
okay.
on. I don't know why that keeps doing that, but I'll just stop it right there. Go ahead. I am so sorry.
Yeah. Well, really the main thing is you will make mistakes when you're doing all of this. I had to restart a few of the streams because of my audio issues, and they still did really well. Like there's one that I had to end early due to tech issues. The first one had 136 views. The restart had 444 views.
Wow.
Yeah, at
400.
least right now.
So how many of you guys would love to have 444 views of something that you put on Facebook? Yeah, I'm right with you, Nicole. That's it. That's it for sure. Well, fantastic job, lady. And I'm so glad we were seeing it. Again, go to, and what is your Facebook page again? The Geek Girl?
At Keller Williams Mountain to Sound, or it's just /GeekGirlRE.
Geek Girl RE. Okay, guys, go check that out and get some inspiration from Lindsay. She is amazing. Thank you so much, Lindsay. And now I'm going to move over to Trevor Acey, because Trevor, you were already moving forward in a digital space. You guys were starting to do that. And since COVID started and the shutdown started, you just like really leaned into this. So can you walk us through kind of what's been happening with your team and what you've been doing to really kind of own your lane and choose that lane and own it?
Sure. Well, when we talk about tech and technology and being digital, I like to think of it as things that are going to ultimately enable our relationships with our clients. They're going to enable us to be a better fiduciary. I think a lot of times we think, we have to sit down and be a super computer savvy or start writing code or something like that. And I want people to understand that that's not it. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get a lot of these functionary type of tasks out of the way so that we can really connect with the client. Like a Zoom call is better than a phone call. A Zoom call, we can actually connect. We can build relationships. So everything that we do tries to build relationship or tries to increase our fiduciary input into the client's world. So if it doesn't do those things, we question whether it even needs to happen, or if it does need to happen, then there's probably a way we could do it better. So I know Sarah will come to me, for example, and my role kind of on the team is to design and implement some of those things. And, there can be some complex processes behind them, but sometimes it's really easy. Sometimes there's a lot of things that you could do, like just placing an online grocery order and picking it up saves you 2 hours a week, like boom, right there. And so, those types of things can really help. And then we have all sorts of things through Command. We use Slack, Dropbox. We use a lot of just online forms, just make it easy. We have a virtual assistant, so she helps us do the filing. And so my goal is to keep those agents out there connecting with the client, talking about the contract, talking about what's important to them. What does their house need to look like? Where are we going to position in the market? Those are all things that are important to the client. And, some of the paperwork, how it gets filed, how photos are uploaded, what size they need to be. Those are things that the client doesn't want to worry about, neither does the agent. So my goal is to take over as much of that stuff as we can on our admin side.
I love it. I love it. And I love how you're talking about being the fiduciary, and that actually becomes the focus of going digital in communication, going digital in process, to really make sure that, I don't know if a lot of us think in those terms as far as really leaning in to that digital space. And I think, and by the way, I want to let everybody know that you and Sarah Acey, are going to be teaching a class on Thursday at 2:00, and it's called The Perfect Virtual Consultation.
That's right.
Love that. Tell us a little bit about that, what you guys are going to be doing.
Well, we were just trying to figure out what could we do that would add value, and we'll just talk about a virtual consultation. What do the clients want to see? What's going to help you be the most effective when you can't be right in front of them? And then also, I think this is something that we're going to work with even after people, start coming out, because there's a lot of times, again, it's like how a lot of our clients want to do that. They don't necessarily want to come to the office. And I know we do want to make that connection and whatever, but if it's a matter of not having a consultation at all, or having a phone consultation, or doing a really nice Zoom call where we can go through some things and maybe even show them a few properties off the bat, that's going to build relationship. It's going to increase your fiduciary kind of role within their life, and they're going to connect to you. So I think what we're going to do is we're just going to go over what that looks like, how does Sarah do it, and a few how-tos.
Love it. Love it. It's interesting. And I love how you're saying, our new normal is not going back to the way it was. I mean, we've spent the last 3 months teaching the world how to be digital. I mean, even my 81-year-old aunt is digital now, right? And so I think it's extraordinary how we can kind of take advantage of this and again lean into that and own that space. Are you kind of seeing that moving forward, maybe for the next few months, rest of the year? What is your crystal ball?
Well, I wish I had one, but I think people need to realize there's an incredible opportunity with that. I mean, I don't know how many consultations you can do if you drive to each one versus if you do like a webinar, or if you just do one right after the other. You can accomplish so much if you just take some of the unnecessaries out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think moving forward, we've definitely had clients that are asking for virtual tours, and we've certainly had clients that are able and willing to do Zoom calls, because it's like you said, Zoom has now been introduced into the community at large, and so everybody wants to do that. I think there will always be a space to meet in the office and sit across from somebody as well.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, it's how do we, and it's what Pam talks about all the time. How do we become digitally based and physically enhanced? Because you're right, there's always going to be that physical presence that we need, because there's the heart and soul of that too. And there's steps from the farthest away, which might be an email, all the way through where we can see people, then we can move forward and then be in person. So, but I want to thank you so much, you and Sarah, for teaching this class. I think it's going to be really fantastic, and everybody can find the link for that in the calendar that came out this morning on our pages. So I appreciate that so much, Trevor.
My pleasure. It'll be fun.
Okay, so there's a couple other people that I really want to talk to, and this is Guru Singh and Nicole Larson, and talk about leadership that has shown up since the coronavirus. And both of you have done just some extraordinary things. First of all, Guru, you have really chosen that lane of being a international cultural ambassador, and leaned into that and owned that space, even to the point of bringing on Mo Anderson to all of us. How many people can actually get the chairman of the board to come to one of our team meetings? So you are amazing on this. And then Nicole, you are a consummate leader all the time. As soon as all of the COVID stuff started, you absolutely leaned in and said, what can I do? And you were coordinating ALC. You've definitely been a huge help to me and the leadership, as far as giving us insights as far as what's going on with our agents. And so for both of you, I just have to applaud you and say thank you so much for just leaning in. So my question to both of you, and because I know all together we've actually done quite a bit of brainstorming along with Bill Allison and Pam on as far as what we need to even bring into our education. So walk us through a little bit what your mindset was as soon as COVID started. It didn't seem to shut you guys down. It seemed to energize you a little bit. Am I wrong on that?
Go ahead, Guru.
Okay, no, when the whole thing happened, I started thinking, what everybody else might be feeling, and then like how can I help or impact that? And then the first thing that came to my mind was Mo Anderson. So I just sent out an email, and I said, well, all I can hear back is no, we're busy or this or that. But I was blessed with, and you already know, she was here for a whole hour. So that's what went through my mind is like, if I'm going through something like this, there's a lot of people that are going through the same thing, or they may even be at a worse spot. And then how can I, bring, so they're cheered and then they're hopeful and then they can plan instead of looking at it in a different direction.
Yeah, I love that. Love that. How about you, Nicole? I mean, talk about just leaning in.
I think the most important thing is like connection is one of my strengths, and connecting people and kind of collecting people. And so not having that market center and that ability to touch and feel people and hug on them like Carmen does, I wanted to be able to create an environment. And Cole, you did a really good job of taking the leadership on that and getting us to have those weekly calls and figuring out what the agents needed. And so I just wanted to say thank you for that as well. And, we were brainstorming every Tuesday. What do they need? What classes do we need to fill? What does that look like? And then getting feedback from the agents were really important. And based on our survey that you did, I think that we did a pretty good job of maintaining that environment where they could go and get what they needed and still feel a part of a market center.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it's actually interesting that you bring up the survey. And I will be sharing the results out on our Facebook pages. It's been fascinating. And just like Trevor and I were talking about, everybody wants a real good 50-50 mix of digital. So some of the things that we're doing staying digital, and then some of the things doing in person. So how fascinating is that for all of us moving forward? So I just want to thank you both for all the work that you have been doing on that. Guru, it's interesting. I know, and Nicole too, because I've talked to you both so much on this. There's something about your mindset. And don't get me wrong, I think all of us have had those moments of stress, and maybe even for all four of you, all of us have had moments of stress during the shutdown, right? And we continue to do it. We were hoping that we were going to be released into phase 2. Today, obviously, that's not happening. We still don't have certainty around that. But how do you lean in? What does your mindset need to do to really move forward?
Go, Nicole.
Okay. We always sit there and stare at each other. I think the most important thing was getting a pulse on where my team was, because there's an awareness that everyone's going to be in different places. So I had to examine what that looked like for each person and create an environment that everyone could succeed in, regardless of where they were at. And so, if someone wasn't willing to show homes, who on the team could show homes for them so their business didn't stop? Who was willing to step in and, look at Zoom classes? And so we all looked at our strengths and figured out, okay, with a crisis, what does that look like? And then I had to maintain the positive attitude. I couldn't bring my own personal feelings into the team of I couldn't have a scarcity mindset. I had to focus on what you could and realize, okay, this is how we're going to do business and this is how we're going to get through it, and put our head down and constant, like Dan and Cheryl said, it's constant check-ins. It's a lot of follow-up and a lot of loving on your team, because 5 minutes in a day could be completely different for each person. So figuring out what that looks like.
Yeah, I love that. Well, let me ask all four of you. Let's give some parting advice to all the folks that are on our webinar today. What is something specific and actionable that anybody here can take from your perspective to really move forward and own that lane?
Okay, I'll go first. I would say focus on what you can control, right? Because there are some things that are your control, and it doesn't matter how hard you try, you can't do anything there. So focus on what you can control. And then as far as business is concerned, I think you and I talked about it last week too, like focus on what's your superpower. Find out what your superpower is. Like Jason Abrams, showed us last year. He was like, look at your last year business and see where all the business came from. And wherever it came from, that is your superpower. And then, stay away from the shiny object syndrome. Just focus on that. It worked in the past. It's going to keep on working. You just got to figure out how to keep that needle moving. So.
Love that. How about the rest of you guys?
I was listening, you know, when Dan and Cheryl speak, I just take notes, right? So he said, if you're not doing the right things that get you where you want to go, either stop wanting that thing or start doing the right things. So one of the things I've done in the past, just to kind of build on what Guru just said, is like try to figure out what's controllable and what's not. And so I would take just a T chart. If you've ever had like a big piece of paper, write a T chart, say things I can control on one side, things I can't control, and then just brain dump everything down onto there, right? And then once you have everything, you know, all the stuff that comes from, you know, the news and the outside world, and, you know, I mean, it's a lot, right? Then you can focus at least on the stuff that you can control, prioritize that, and then look for leverage, right? Like our whole conversation about digital has been leverage. Like I'm not a digital guy. I just like leverage. So look for something little that does something big, right? Little effort, big result. And then just start going through those, prioritizing them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then just try to do one a day or a couple a day, you know, whatever you can do. And you will find that you are more and more and more effective. And all that emotional energy that you've been dumping into these things that you can't control. And there's a time to feel it and understand it. And I think you guys were really awesome with that, but there's also a time to like buckle down and control the controllables. So that would be my practical advice.
Okay, great.
I'd say for anyone who's been thinking about doing video, stop thinking about it and just go live.
Do it.
Don't get caught up in editing. Just go live. Once you do it, you'll find that you can do it. The worst that can happen is you make a mistake and someone makes a recommendation for how to do it better next time.
Exactly. You know, it's interesting. I think Jennifer Thompson is a good example of like Lindsay, you're like on the absolute spectrum of awesomeness when it talks about all the technology and how polished the production is and things like that. And I love Jennifer Thompson because she basically, she took your advice like that and she said, okay, I'm just going to do it. And so she decided she just didn't even watch your videos. She would just do them and put them out and didn't care. And she got such great reaction because she wasn't worrying about what she looked like or whatever. She was just being her authentic self. Which I know that's who you are all the time as well. Matter of fact, all 4 of you, I think that's a wonderful testament to who you are because I think your authenticity always shines through. What a great panel today, guys. Thank you so much for all of your insights. I so appreciate you joining with us today, and I hope you have a phenomenal rest of your week.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a lot of really great things that are coming up, and I want to share those with you. So the first thing is coming up tomorrow, and this is actually from the finance community at Mountains to Sound, and it's going to be led by our finance community chair, Teresa Parker, and it is called S Corp Information Q&A with guest speaker, Realtors Tax Sam Barnes. So you're going to be looking for the invite on that will be coming out on our Facebook pages, so make sure you take a look at that. And I think Goldie might be also emailing that out, so we'll find that out for you. But it is tomorrow at 1 p.m. Any realtor can come. So if you have friends that you know that are outside our offices, absolutely invite them to join us. That would be fantastic. And then I want to bring back my wonderful, wonderful OP Pam. And Pam, I'd love it if we could actually talk for just a second about our spring masterminds. And I think, you know, I'm excited. I actually have not been to Spring Mastermind yet. It's been my very first time, and they are starting next week. So can you tell us a little bit about Spring Masterminds?
Yeah, well, Spring Masterminds is an environment where you are in a room with like-minded people, like production people, and learning from each other, sharing best practices, especially right now as we're learning so many new things right now, what's working, what's not, how do they do it. Very high level conversations going on. And the cool part about it is, to me, is the relationships that you form with people from across the country, across the world that are also joining in on those masterminds and learning from each other. It's a great opportunity for us to you know, piggyback on the shoulders of, or on the back of somebody who's done it at a high level.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think anybody can be on it. Now, this is usually done in person in somewhere across the country, but right now, if you're a Mastery client, this is free for you. Now, this is all going to be digital. This is free for you. And if you're not a Mastery client, it's $49.
That's right.
Oh,
Right.
my goodness.
And it's open to everyone, you guys. So at any production level, you're able to really pop in to a room and see, you know, what agents are doing around the country and hearing from them. So yes, it's $49 if you're not a Mastery client. It is $0 if you are a Mastery client. So you want to make sure that you get in there and make your reservation, because they're cutting this off at 6,000 people. And I know with everything going online, that's, you know, it will fill up.
Yeah.
It will fill up.
As a matter of fact, I think they were saying on, I think we had a team leader call this morning, and I think they were saying actually they're probably going to sell out by tomorrow. So make sure you get on. We will have the link again on our Facebook pages. So get on Facebook and get registered. So it's next Monday and Tuesday. There are 2 sessions that you'll go to. So there's a session, you'll take a break, then there's a session on Monday, and then the same thing for Tuesday. And that actually, by the way, is masterminds.kw.com. If you want to take advantage, hop in there right now and get on it. And again, this is not mutually exclusive to just Keller Williams agents. If there are agents that you know they're out there that could really use high-level conversations and high-level masterminding, we really encourage you to invite them into this conversation. As a matter of fact, feel free to reach out if it's Mountain Sound. Reach out to me. I'll be happy to invite someone, or if it is Puget Sound, Pam or Bill or Lindy, you can speak with anybody on.
Yeah, part of the cool thing about COVID and all of us going digital is that what was maybe unaffordable for some people to go to, like you've always wanted to, well, you know what? This is just your chance. This is your opportunity, because it's super affordable.
Absolutely. Well, Pam, I got to tell you, this has been such an amazing time that we're going through, and great panels today.
Great panels. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, oh, they do such an amazing job. And I think that's who our culture is, right? If we think in terms of how many people come to us and they want to support and they want to take part, and now taking part in this bigger conversation. I know you're just passionate about bringing people together. And I know that, and I want to thank you personally, because I know you and Dennis reached out to a lot of people this weekend, and just with open ears and open heart. And I think that always makes all the difference to be the type of leader that you are. So thank you so much for being you.
Thanks, Cole. And I'll just say to you that I appreciate everything that you're doing, and you're standing in a lot of gaps for Dennis and I as we're also navigating this, and Bill and Lindy and the rest of the leadership team. You know, we couldn't be more proud to be in business with every single one of you. And we're all learning. By the way you put this whole thing together today was probably the best one I've ever seen, with the race car and the time clock and all the stuff. So good job.
We're getting better all the time.
Better every day.
Awesome. Well, everybody, you know, we hope you have a really fantastic rest of your week, coming into the second half of your year. And go ahead, choose that lane and own it. And remember, stay safe, stay healthy, and absolutely stay active. Talk to everybody later.
Bye.